guys, what's up? It is GVKcollectibles, and today we're taking a trip back to the Dark Multiverse as we take a look at Batman from the Dark Knight's death metal wave. Alright, and as I said today, guys, we are taking a look at Batman from the Dark Father wave from McFarlane Figures. This is, of course, the Dark Knight's death metal series of Build-A-Figure waves. And I'm pretty excited. We did the Wonder Woman technically last week, so a lot of how I film videos is usually I will film them like well into advance, so I decided to once you see like in between ones, maybe those were shot out of order, but like once again I try not to say too much about that, but that's kind of how it works, and I figured we would do this with the Batman, the whole Dark Knight's death metal wave. So this is a pretty cool wave. I have the other version of this Batman figure, and we'll do a comparison to them. There really isn't too much difference between both of them, with a few exceptions here and there, but we'll get into that as always. This is the kind of similar packaging that the Wonder Woman has. Pretty much all the Dark Knight death metal figures, including the Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and the Robin King, of course, all have this type of packaging, and they do come with the Build-A-Figure piece. I think it's like usually right here or something, and you would get the card and everything within there. Then you got the side that has Batman, Dark Knight Death Metal, with the Dark Knight Death Metal logo on the back. Then you get a cool shot of the card itself with the other figures in the wave, including the Robin King, the Superman, and the Wonder Woman, who we already did, including the Build-A-Figure pieces of the Dark Father. So we'll take a closer look at the Dark Father. We won't get too close of a look at like the details on the Dark Father this time, like the legs, just because we are going to save that for when we review him and the Robin King, which will be the last video in this kind of like little series. And you got DC Multiverse at the top, you got nothing at the bottom, and of course the pricing and everything. So with that out of the way, let's check out Batman himself. Alright, and here we have the Dark Knight's death metal Batman out of the packaging, rocking out. So the thing is, this figure is technically it's just a reissue kind of the original. That one came with the scythe. We'll actually get into comparison with these two. This one does come with a different accessory. Well, the standalone card figure comes with the scythe. This one actually comes with this like wicked looking guitar. I don't know exactly what it is, but it is pretty cool just because I think generally this particular Batman, not necessarily the one with the scythe, I feel like this is the least good out of the two of them. We'll get into comparisons here in a minute with the other figure. It's practically the same figure, but there is a few differences. Mainly the hands are different, but like everything else is pretty much the same. Articulation, paint apps, and everything look really good, except this is just within the Build-A-Figure piece itself, the bigger Build-A-Figure wave itself. I think it's a really, really cool design, really, really badass metal design of Batman, like if he was a metal rocker, which looks really, really cool. I really, really love the design of it, but we'll get into some of the, we'll get into the accessories next pretty here soon, but out of all the figures in the wave, this one has to be my least favorite, only just because it is a re-release of a previous figure. So, with that out of the way, let's jump into the accessories. He doesn't come with really too much, but they're pretty cool. For his accessories, of course, this Batman, let's start with the most basic thing he comes with, and he does come with the DC base. This is pretty much the same DC base you've seen with previous figures in this wave. Basically, it's the exact same one that's been really shipping out with all the McFarlane design figures. You got this little cool DC logo sketched right here, which is actually one of my favorite DC logos. It's not my favorite, but I really, really like that logo. So, and also, he does come with the Build-A-Figure pieces, which look really, really cool. As I said, we'll get into greater details of these guys later. He comes with these two, and they're really easy to put on the figure, as I'll show you in the last video. He also does come with the training card, which is actually really, really cool. I actually like the pose that they use for this one, as it is kind of harkens to, I think it's a variant cover. I can't remember exactly which variant it's based off, but it's actually a cool interconnecting one with all the Justice League members, essentially like in a band, essentially. Like this have heavy metal band, which is really, really cool. And it also looks really, really well done, too. I really love the photography on this piece. It looks really, really cool. And, of course, for the main attraction, unlike the single-carded Batman, this guy actually comes with this thing. It is like a guitar scythe, and it looks pretty cool. Very, very heavy metal-esque design. Really not a lot of detail, like paintbrush detailing on it at all. It's pretty much a flat red surface, but it is sculpted really, really well, and much like all the other McFarlane accessories like swords and guns and stuff, it is a very like pliable metal, which is not metal, plastic. That's what I meant. But it does look pretty cool. Like, that looks really, really cool. It's got this like face up here. I actually don't know who the face is at the top of it. I honestly think it could be Joker, but I could be completely wrong because I have not read Dark Knight's Death Metal. But it looks really, really cool. Very unique looking design. I really like the idea and creativeness of these kind of weapon designs. It is really, really cool. But yeah, we'll get into kind of why this is really, this is actually really, really cool. I actually really enjoyed it. It's a really good sculpted piece. So yeah, those are all the accessories. So let's jump into Batman himself. Okay, and here we have Batman. So this one is the Build-A-Figure wave right here, and this is the single card release figure. And ultimately, of what I can tell, these are practically the exact same figures, which is kind of disappointing. I really wish just McFarlane, instead of just releasing this as a standalone figure, we got both accessories with interchangeable hands, because it just makes a little bit more sense. Because I'll talk to one of the points that I don't like about this figure. I think they're both really, really good figures. They're pretty much the same figure. I just think this one's just a little it's just a cheap reprint, essentially, just to get the figure with a different accessory and everything. And also has this one with the left hand. It actually has a completely different joint, different hand, as opposed to this guy, who has the much more like traditional, kind of like gripping hand. Like, I want to say like Lego hand, which this is for gripping the guitar, of course, but that's pretty much the only difference with this figure in particular. I much prefer this guy just because I love the look. I actually like the scythe a little bit more than the guitar, just because I managed to get it pretty well. The guitar doesn't necessarily stay in the hand ultimately too well some of the time, but it does the job right. So let's get this guy out of the way, and let's just take a look at this guy right here. As you can tell, this is a really, really well-detailed Batman figure. I think it's really, really cool. Some of the best, like, kind of engineering, I think, because this is actually one of the first Batman figures I've actually seen with this thigh swivel right here, which is really, really cool, which will get into articulation. But, like, once again, the detailing and everything, the sculpting in general looks really, really good. The cape is made out of the same kind of rubber that all capes are made out of. And it's really, really well detailed, too, which I think is really, really good. They got the skull and everything. And also the face sculpt, I think, is... It's weird for me to say it is one of the best Batman face sculpts I think I've seen. Just like comic, purely design, I really love this, like, Bat design. I think it's really, really cool how he's kind of got that 5 o'clock shadow, kind of like the old, kind of when Jim Lee drew in Batman Hush, kind of like he has that 5 o'clock shadow, which is really, really cool. The cowl, I think, many people may complain like the cowl ears are a little too short, but it looks really, really cool. I think it looks like one of the best face sculpts, I think. I really wish, and I hope that this body mold, kind of like with a few tweaks here and there, becomes a new kind, like we get a new like comic accurate looking Batman, like the Detective Comics 1000 cover, but with this design. But you got like all these spikes and everything around the suit. It looks really, really good. Very, very much heavy metal-esque design, which looks really, really cool. And also they are really rubber, so you don't have to worry about them being like that sharp, which is really, really cool. That McFarlane, like, granted, if this was like OG McFarlane, like back in the day when these were still considered statues, you know these would be sharp as all hell. But we can't let having kids who will get these figures, I think, because these are $20 figures. Well, this was a $30 figure because it was a Build-A-Figure, but it is still a pretty good figure, and I really like the detailing on the boot, like the sculpting on the boots. There really isn't too much paint detailing wise, but like the sculpt is just a really, really good sculpt. I really love the Batman, and also you get a kind of closer look at the bat symbol on there, which is that's actually probably one of my favorite bat symbols I've seen on a McFarlane figure in a bit. I love like it's kind of like got the piping in the suit, which looks really, really cool. So yeah, that's the details in the Batman. So as you can tell, the only reason I say I dislike this particular Batman figure is just because it is basically the same figure that we got from the original one with just the scythe, the single-carded one. I kind of do wish that McFarlane did just said screw it and just make that one the Build-A-Figure also, and just include the scythe and the interchangeable hands. I think that would be a really, really cool idea. I think that's what I said about the Wonder Woman. Like, I feel like a lot of these should have more interchangeable hands. I know a lot of the My Hero Academia ones, even though they're not DC, they are McFarlane. So, I mean, you should definitely do it. I think it's a good idea to kind of have your range open for these figures. So, but yeah, that's kind of like my hot take. But let's, with the detailing out of the way, let's get into articulation. Okay, and Batman can look up all the way, which is really, really good. He can look down that far, which is pretty good. He can move his head side to side, which is really, really excellent. His arm can move down that forward. You do got the double jointed elbows right here, and also the wrist is kind of like on the McFarlane's unique kind of joint of where it can hinge up and down, but it also is a ball joint at the same, like you have the ball joint here, but it also can like hinge up and down, and you can actually manipulate that joint to go pretty much anywhere you want it to go, which is really, really good. He does have an ab crunch, which is pretty good. He can actually move back that far, but I think it is hindered due to the cape a lot, which is really, really cool. He can, let's see if that that stomach has a swivel. It does. It's kind of hard to do just because of the duster, but it's really, really good. Legs kick out that far, they can kick out that wide. There is the new the calf swivel, which is really, really good for this figure. I think that's really, really great. I know this is practically the same figure, and this actually impressed me with just the single-carded figure, so I'm really glad that this mold is really, really good. I just hope it gets used more with a few little modifications here and there, just to make it a new figure. He does have the double jointed elbows, knees, I mean, which is not necessarily hindered. You can't really get too far, like it isn't too ridiculous, but you can get him in like a decent kind of kicking pose. As you guys saw in the beginning of when he was posed, he can get into the the kind of pose to rock out. Also, his feet have a great ankle pivot. They can move up and down. Once again, you can move and you can manipulate that kind of joint that this figure has, and also the toe articulation, and he does have peg holes at the bottom of his feet for the base, of course. So, pretty good articulation for a Batman. I think this is some of the best articulation for a Batman figure from McFarlane in a bit. Like, we've came a long way. I actually remember really liking the Dark Knight's Metal Batman, but like one of my biggest complaints was the head. The head was just kind of like there, it didn't have this neck joint. This is very much an improvement on that design. I really wish we would get a 2.0. I know it's a little early talking about 2.0 figures, but just take the engineering used in this head and put it on that figure. But that figure really represents, and I feel like these figures in general are really good representations of Greg Capullo's art style for these characters. I think are really, really good. So with that out of the way, let's get into some size comparisons and give my final thoughts on Batman. Here we have some figures from different companies. Also, once again, maybe a little sneak peek of what's coming. Here we have the brand new Gunslinger Spawn, the NECA black and white Frankenstein, which this guy's going to get reviewed. I also have the color version. I'm actually going to do something special with that one. That's going to be a dual review, I think. Batman, of course, we have the new Bandai movie monster Jet Jaguar, the Phase 1 clone trooper from the Black series from Hasbro, there we go. And of course we have the Wicked Cool Toys Master Chief from the Series 1 Spartan collection. So he's about normal. Like if you could definitely compare, like I decided to compare him to another McFarlane figure, he really is in another, like he's a little smaller in comparison to the new Gunslinger Spawn figure. Although a lot of the McFarlane figures, like the DC figures, are actually a little bit smaller than the Batman, Spawn figure, but it is really, really cool to see him next to the Frankenstein too, and like all these different 6-inch figures. So he's about like a normal 7-inch scale figure. He isn't too small. He's kind of in that middle ground between, I would say, the Master Chief and Frankenstein. For one final comparison, here he is next to the entirety of the Dark Knight's Death Metal All Dark Father wave. Right, and here we have Batman with the scythe and the guitar. This actually looks pretty sick when I'm thinking about it. So, overall thoughts, I really like this Batman figure. I really like this mold. This version of it that comes with the Build-A-Figure wave, I'm not necessarily thrilled about. I don't necessarily like the guitar. I think the scythe is a little bit cooler. Although, you could be the complete opposite opinion of me. Like, you could say it's like, oh, I actually like the guitar better than the scythe version of Batman. But either way, I think it's a really, really good body mold. It's really badass design too. Once again, I think, as you'll notice, I think with a lot of these death metal figures, they really encapsulate Greg Capullo's style with these particular characters with Dark Knight Death Metal, and it definitely makes sense. And I think Todd definitely like knew how to capture that, just because he's been Capullo had done Spawn for so much, for a long time, and he's done amazing stuff. But it is really, really cool. While I do like the Scythe Batman a little bit more than the guitar version, I would definitely suggest picking this up just for the All-Father wave, because I think the All-Father, when we get to him, I think he's a pretty cool figure. But that's all I'm going to say about it. But either way, I think of which figure you should get, whether it be the single-carded or this one, it's really up to you. If you're not really into collecting Build-A-Figures, I totally suggest getting the single-carded one if you have it already, and skip out on this guy. But if you want to build a figure, I would suggest going ahead and get this guy. I think he's really, really awesome. So, with that being said, that's Mythical Mountain Monday. Not Mythical Mountain Monday, Figure Review Friday, as today, that is our second DC. This is our second DC review of the Dark Knight's Death Metal wave. So next week we'll take a break, then we'll jump into Superman, which is going to be really, really fun. So with that being said, make sure to hit like and subscribe, hit the little bell notification so you get notified when we upload Mythical Mountain Monday, What's in the Box Wednesday, and of course, Figure Review Friday, like today. Also check us out on Mercari and Instagram and Facebook, at least with me with the Facebook. All those links will be down below, of course. And with that being said, I hope you guys have an amazing weekend. Hopefully it's safe, hopefully it's great, and I will see you next time for Figure Review Friday, next Friday. Peace, y'all.